Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak for November 14th, 2020. It is Saturday, the day after Friday 13th. Um, for operating room nurses, Friday 13th may continue and continue in COVID-19 America every day, 365 days a year. As you know, COVID-19 can cause blood clots in 20-year-olds and cause strokes and kill them that way. So they may require immediate operation. If there's a hematoma, like blood just like collecting in the brain, that's what the operating nurses may have to deal with as COVID-19 crisis continues. We have 6 more months of flu season left, so don't worry. Things are going to get exponentially worse. It's going to be COVID-19 hell on earth like you can't even begin to imagine now. We don't know how COVID-19 will mutate in the next 6 months. We may get to a stage where you will see blood just pouring out of your nose, your mouth, your ears. That could happen like a few months from now if God wants COVID-19 to mutate in a certain direction. How do we know? How can we predict that that could happen? Right now, COVID-19 has mutated to clot your blood, right? Mess with your blood system. It's only a few mutations away for COVID-19 to act like a blood thinner and unclot your bones, your blood. Or it could create clotting to the extent that your bodily blood clotting system will fail. And then your blood will just pour out from every orifice, like DIC. Um, yeah, so that could happen. I think every healthcare expert out there, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Han, Dr. Refio, knows that COVID-19 could develop into a pathological process that could result in DIC. Um, yeah, where your blood can pour out of every orifice in your body spontaneously. That could happen, like, around January, if God mutates COVID-19 in that direction. And it's, a couple of mutations away to cause that as a primary impact, because obviously you could develop that once you get COVID and your bodily system can become so compromised that you could end up with that kind of process in your body that you die from. So you got COVID, you start suffering from COVID, and then COVID destroys your system, and then one thing leads to another. So that's more like a secondary or tertiary event. But if COVID-19 mutates enough, that could be a primary event, meaning you can get COVID and then you could immediately get some kind of blood irregularity or problem where blood is pouring out from everywhere. To use a common person's lingo. So it's probably very exciting for experts of immunology, pathology, and viruses, because this virus is not like any virus that anybody has seen. So for experts of viruses, this is the best thing that could happen to them in their life. Because this kind of virus comes around like once every what, 500 years or maybe longer. So for people who are experts of viruses, this is like the greatest thing that happened in the history of humankind. It's kind of like generals who will wait and wait to fight a world war. There are military people who want to fight world wars. Did you know that? Yeah, there are people who want to fight world war because some people join the military to kill people, to have a license to kill, like James Bond. James Bond, license to kill. You know, some people join the military so that they could have license to kill, but they can't kill anybody if there's no war. So some people are like praying for a war so they could go and kill people officially, as a soldier. So that's why some people join the Marines because they want to, they want to legally be able to kill a lot of people. There are people like that on Earth, I'm not like that, obviously, but because I didn't. That's I didn't join the military. I don't even own a gun. I mean, I support everybody's right to own a gun. I just don't have one. Who knows? If God wants me to get one, I'll get one. But I'm not married and I don't have children, so I don't really have wife and children to defend against like these crazy Democrat Antifa types. You saw on TV today in the news they're attacking like decent folk, just kind of marching quietly in Washington D.C. with their children, and they're being attacked by Antifa. Their children's being attacked. I don't have children. I'm not married. I've never been married, so I don't feel the need to defend. I don't have a gun. Because I don't need to defend my wife's life or defend her from being raped or my children. So I don't own a gun. I don't have a need to own a gun really right now. But if I'm married and have children, and looking at the Antifa types, if I saw that today and I had children and a wife, I would probably go and get a gun tomorrow, get a license and a gun, handgun and like semi-automatic and a shotgun. I'll probably go and get one just because I see how violent Antifa and people police these Democrat types can get. If they can get violent, in public space like that, can you imagine what they would do to you when no one's looking? You know what I'm saying? So I would definitely go and get a gun if I had children and wife that I had to defend as a husband. But I don't have children or wife, so I don't need to get a gun unless I marry a woman who's like in the military or works for the CIA, Homeland Security, or FBI. Then she would have a gun, then she can protect me and our children. Then I won't have to get a gun. I like women in uniform, so I love to marry like a captain in the Air Force, or captain in the Army or captain in the Marines is like a woman. I'd be very physically fit. I like women with nice bodies. So that's one plus, right? Um, yeah. So or FBI agents, CIA agents, they don't have to be physically fit. Like Dana Scully in it's the truth is out there. What do you call that? It's not Twilight Zone. What was the name of that show? Well, with Dana Scully and Scully and X Files, X Files. Yeah, she's pretty, right? There's some really pretty FBI agents. Like Dana Scully. I guess they have MDs as well as FBI agents. So that would actually be like a FBI agent who carries a gun, who's fit, who's a medical doctor. Geez, that's like and a beautiful redhead. Oh my gosh, that's like the whole package. But who knows? Hopefully God has plans to give me a spanking hot woman as my wife. Obviously, she has to be a Christian, but everybody's a Christian in America, practically everybody. So I'm not worried about that. But when I was living in Israel, everybody was Jewish because it's a Jewish thing. You know, I was worried there, but I had to convert people to get married. But here in America, it's like practically everybody's Christian, so I'm not worried about that part. I am worried about having a spanking hot woman, beautiful with a nice body. Um, hopefully God will give me one of those. But I mean, I'm open to God's will. And when you fall in love, nothing really matters, right? So hopefully I fall in love with somebody with beautiful and spanking beautiful body, you know. you know, I don't want to wake up one day and say, whoops, because you can't get divorced once you're married. No, no, I'm sure I would do that. I'm just kidding around here, but anyhow, yeah. So today is Operating Nurses Day, um, and November 14th, and one of the RN nurses, in our RN nurse residents, I'm in a cohort. Cohort is like a group of people. So when I came into Virginia Hospital Center, I came with a cohort. So everyone came in at the same time. So we are together. We are in it together. We are in this together, my cohort members at Virginia Hospital Center. So, we are in this together cohort members. We have like 16. We came in together and we have 1 year nurse residency program at Virginia Hospital Center. And we end together in this Virginia Hospital Center RN residency program. It's a 1 year program. So Virginia Hospital Center provides us support and training and encouragement. And so it's a residency program. So that's what they are. So so far I'm very happy with it. And I really like the cohort members. So hopefully, all of us get closer together and become one happy family. We are family. I'm messing a little bit out of key, but um, yeah. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing my resident RN residency members, cohort members again. Um, yeah, but anyway, so one of them is an operating room nurse, and he's one of the few male nurses. So there's like 3 male nurses, I think, and the rest are women. And he's pretty fun, fun guy, cool guy. Yeah. So yeah, it's like my cohort from Georgetown University, where I did my master's in clinical nurse leader. There were only 3 guys as well, but then we had like 25 people, so it was a larger group. So Grant Allen from North Carolina, who's now in South Carolina with his girlfriend, and and Billy Sneed from Texas. He went to U.S. Naval Academy, served in U.S. Navy for 20 years as an officer in the Navy. Was in a secret mission in Somalia. I'm sure he's killed a lot of people. He's a Navy officer doing all this kind of intelligence work in the Navy. He's a nice guy. You never think that he's like a killer, but I mean, he is an officer in the Navy and he works in intelligence. So yeah, so he's well now he's trading in his gun for stethoscope. So he's planning to work in I guess Veterans Affairs hospitals. But yeah, so he's a brilliant guy. He's a smart guy. I mean, Billy's smart. I mean, Granny's smart too. Both of them. Actually, all 25 of us are very smart. But Billy's exceptional. I like him a lot. I like Grant a lot too. Um, yeah, so we were in the 25 of us are in 2 year intensive master's program in clinical nurse leader at Georgetown, which is like 2-3 miles from Virginia Hospital Center. So it's like a neighbors. Yes, I want to do a cheer for my clinical nurse leader program. CNL 2020, yay! Billy, Grant, and Heerak, 3 musketeers, 3 guys among sea of women. Yay, we graduated, yay! I mean, it seems kind of funny that we're celebrating graduation, but it was 2 years of living hell, and I'm sure Billy would agree and Grant would agree. I mean, we learned a lot, but you know, uh, you know, yeah, probably none of us want another program like that, though. I'm saying it was so crazily intense, But yeah, but it was like a full-time program, we couldn't do anything else but just do those things. So it was just crazy nuts, But uh, Billy was getting paid from the Navy, so he was getting like full-time pay, I think. You know what? Yeah, so he was rich. He was like the richest guy in the program. But I mean, Billy was from the U.S. Navy, but Grant and I, we weren't working, so you know, so we're poor. But I think Grant had his girlfriend who was working as a full-time interior decorator in Washington D.C. So I think she picked up the bill. But anywho, I'm single, so there's no one to pick up my bills. And yeah. What can I say? So I have to admit, some of the dates I made the girls pay. I didn't make the girls pay. They kind of paid, but yes, I'm not all of them. Some women I paid everything, but there were a few women. Oh, we like when went on date, we just went Dutch, and they're like these like millionaires from some other continent. Um, but yeah, but anyway, anywho, when I was in Israel, a lot of women paid for me, because I don't know why, but I think they're like, you're an expert of Jewish study, you probably don't have money. Let me pick up lunch. I'm like, okay, I don't have money, that's true. And I'm not so proud that I won't let a woman pay for me. Yeah, if you want to pay for lunch, go right ahead. If you want to buy me a car, hey, I do need a car, a new one. So, hey, go right ahead. You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with that. I don't have any problem with women being richer than me, smarter than me, more powerful than me. I'm like, more power to you. Um, so I get generally powerful women like me because I don't get threatened by them or anything. I like them being powerful and I support them, in their power or wealth or whatever. Yeah, so, wherever I've gone, powerful women always like me. Yeah, what can I say? I'm just that kind of guy, you know. But anyway, yeah. Um, yeah, so today's operating room nurse day. Uh, I kind of did some operating room nursing work when I was doing mother and baby student clinical rotation at Georgetown University. I worked at Shady Grove Hospital. It's a Seventh-day Adventist healthcare system. Um, and, I worked in the labor and delivery unit as a student nurse. And, some women have cesarean section instead of a vaginal birth. So, generally we go into the operating room and then we prepare the women for cesarean section. So I've done that. And there are several things you have to do. You have to insert a urinary catheter because they're going to get, most of the women get this, what we call block, like an injection in their back. That is to reduce their pain level because they're getting operated on, right? They're going to have actually their abdomen or stomach cut, right? To have the baby taken out. So, so they're not going to feel anything from like waist down. So they can't urinate. So we insert a little tube inside their urethra, all the way to their bladder, so that the urine just comes out into the tube, and that's what we call a urinary catheter. So nurses generally insert that in, and the woman is generally awake through the whole process. I mean, she doesn't feel anything. If the anesthesiologist or nurse anesthetist did their job well, but she could probably smell things and she could probably hear things. But she's awake through the whole procedure. It's not a long procedure. It takes a couple hours, if that long. And if you are a woman who had a cesarean section, you know what I mean. So generally nurses, we go in before she goes into the operating room. We get her prepared, and then after she gets operated on, nurses basically take care of her after the woman is operated on. And the doctor does the operation, but there are nurses who help out with the operation itself. And those are operating room nurses. And they generally count how many towels goes inside the woman, and you gotta make sure that the same number of towels come out so the woman doesn't have a towel inside her body. Sometimes they close up the woman with a towel inside the woman. That's happened before. And I think people have died from that. So operating room nurses are very important. They make sure everything goes well. And, I mean, So they're kind of like the checkers, and then they, their responsibility is a little bit different from like nurses on a hospital unit, because operation itself is done by the doctor. So the nurse generally just assists the doctor. Uh, so the doctor is the primary actor in an operating room, and nurses assist. In a hospital bed, nurses are the primary actors. We do everything, And those of you who had me as your nurse at Virginia Hospital Center, I do everything, right? And then doctors come in once in a while to check, and then give certain things. But doctors rely on us, the nurses, to keep them updated and give them updates on progress. And if there's a problem, they need us to kind of let them know. And so I'm a very good nurse, as my documentation shows. Documentation is everything. If you didn't document it, you didn't do it. But if you documented it, you did it. Documentation protects you from everything. Thank God I'm a historian. I'm very good at documenting. Um, yeah. So at the end of the day, documentation is the fact. Not what people say. People say whatever they want. But that's not fact. It's just opinion. You know, it's hearsay. But fact is what's documented. So documentation is very important. I'm very good at documenting. There's probably you're not going to really find too many people who's like as good as I am in documenting things. So I'm protected from that angle in every situation. But yeah. Anyway, so today is operating room nurse day, and I should tell you, like, if you document something, your own documentation can incriminate you. You know that? That's how President Nixon fell. If President Nixon did not record the conversations, then he would not have been kicked out of office. You know that, right? President Nixon made those recordings to protect himself. But those recordings are documentation, right? Ended up basically crucifying him. So the documentation you make can protect you, but it could kill you. Did you know that? Yeah. Whatever you write, thinking that it's going to protect you, that could kill you. Like if that document did not exist, you may not be thrown into prison, but because that document exists, you could be thrown in prison because it's evidence. And in the court system, we call that discovery. Both sides of the lawyers can ask for all the documentation. So whatever documentation you made, like in your computer system, they become not confiscated, but everything is taken by your side, but also the enemy side, the opposing party side. And whatever you documented, it can help you, but it could incriminate you. That's why, you gotta be very careful, because if you say X, Y, and Z and you think that it helps you, but you're not a lawyer and you don't know, and it could actually damage you, it could actually throw you in prison, you know? That's why it's a double-edged sword, documents that you make. Anything you write, anything you record can throw you in prison because it's your own documentation. So you got to be very careful about what you do. And even if you're a lawyer, there are lawyers who go to prison, right? Uh, you know, uh, Even lawyers can see everything. They can't know every law. So even lawyers make mistakes. Like even lawyers of like universities, they make mistakes, and they end up in disbarred or they go to prison because they made fatal mistakes that they didn't really know they were making because they don't know all the laws. There's a lot of laws out there, and you could be charged under many different statutes, right? Um, so um, so sometimes you have a team of lawyers, like 10 or 20 different lawyers in a team who represent different expertise. So even lawyers cannot say for sure that you're protected. That's how it is, and that's why even at Georgetown you have like 10 different lawyers. Um, 5 to 10 different lawyers. I was the vice president of Georgetown University Graduate Student Government, right? So from May 2019 to May 2020, for a whole year, and I had a very glorious year as a vice president of Georgetown University Graduate Student Government. So the provost knows me well. I went to the provost advisory meeting every month, once every month. I know the president. I know the vice presidents. What can I say? I'm very powerful and influential in this Washington, D.C. area. I know all the powerful people, not just at Georgetown, but outside of Georgetown. Yeah, I have all this power, but, I generally try to use it for good. Um, you know, you know what they say, for God, country, for God and country, you know? And that's why you have the magazine, For God and Country. I think God and Country magazine. I don't know. Is there a God and Country magazine? You know the saying, for God and for country. That's a traditional saying in Western civilization for like 2,000 years. For God and country. For God comes first. Um, yeah, that's like it in every Western country. Because every Western country is like a Christian country. And it's always kind of said for God first and then country second. So that's like built into everybody in America, like every soldier, every FBI agent, every CIA agent, every Homeland Security agent, every Secret Service agent, every U.S. Marshal. Everybody has that ingrained in their brain, first God and then country. It's a Western civilization. Western civilization is very Christian. You can't undo 2,000 years of history. You know, it's just impossible. Going back to operating room nurse, uh, like one of our RN resident cohort members is an operating room nurse. He seems to be doing well, but his training period is really long. It's like 6 months long, you know, because he said he has to train with every operative procedure, like, knee surgery, hip surgery, but also like brain surgery, heart surgery, lung surgery, all kinds of surgery. So he has like long training period. Um, so more power to him. I find like operating nurse kind of boring. I want to be honest with you. Operating nurse kind of seems kind of boring. I haven't really done anything long or anything, but I've done some in the context of like mother and baby. Like cesarean section. I don't know. It's like, I like watching operations. It's kind of fun to watch, but I don't want to say fun, but it's an interesting experience. Hopefully that the patient doesn't die, obviously. But in terms of like wanting to be an operating room nurse, I would never want to be an operating room nurse. You know, I mean, who knows? Maybe in the future my opinions may change. When I was at the Georgetown University Hospital orthopedics uh, floor, working as a student nurse, there was one of the nurses who worked as an operating room nurse for 10 years who changed over to orthopedics. And she said she loved it. So I guess there are people who love it. But yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how COVID-19 mutates. Is it going to mutate in the direction where we're going to see some really gross stuff like people bleeding to death after they get COVID? We don't know. It can happen because all of your organs inside your body could just go to like and then start bleeding out. That could happen through certain viral infections. Thankfully, COVID-19 has not evolved or mutated in that direction yet. But obviously, you know, don't count on it not mutating, but it will mutate. The question is how it will mutate. Can you imagine if COVID-19 mutates with you bleeding out, all your organs turning to blood, like mushy blood? That means if your mom gets COVID, she will be like bleeding like liters and liters of blood just in front of you as she dies. And you call 911 and your mama's dying in front of you, like bleeding to death, like blood is gushing out from the nose, from the mouth, from the ears, from her bladder, like through her, pee area. And you're watching in shock as this happens and she dies. That could happen if COVID-19 mutates in that direction. So don't count on it not mutating in that direction, because we know COVID-19 impacts the blood clotting cascade, blood clotting system, which means it can develop in that direction. Blood clotting problems have mostly been with 20-year-olds, and it's been kind of like just clot, and then you get a stroke. So that's like the initial stage, right? But if it destroys your clotting mechanism, if coronavirus mutates in a way where it destroys your clotting mechanism, you know, and you end up having like a DIC or some kind of a blood clotting failure, then obviously you can bleed out like hemophilia. You call 911, they take 30 minutes to come, you're already dead, or you're almost dead, you bled out. It's like getting a gunshot wound to the heart. You have just so much time to live, and that could happen. And the question is, will COVID-19 evolve to do that for everyone or just some people? There are many different strains. And second question is, if there's a mutation that could cause that, does it depend on what the person is? Like a person has a high blood pressure, person has diabetes, or does the person have to have certain condition for that to happen? Or will it happen to healthy people? So there are a lot of questions, even if it mutates to do that in people. The question is, what will be the factors that will cause that particular outcome, result with COVID-19? We just don't know. We have 6 months of COVID-19 to go. You only basically experienced what, 1 month of lockdown in April, little over 1 month. Now we're looking at 6 months of lockdown, right? November, December, January, February, March, April. Like, wait a minute, it's more than 6 months. Like November, um, December, January, February, March, April, May. That's more like 7 months, maybe 8 months even, June. Um, so anything would happen. A lot of mutations could happen. We just don't know which direction God's going to lead the mutation. But you should be ready. Don't say that Heerak Christian Kim did not tell you, because I did tell you. As you know, I'm Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress of Virginia's 8th District. I'm thinking about running as a Republican. Just because I think like some people just vote down Republicans if my name is listed as Republican. I mean, maybe like, 30% of the voters will just put down Republican vote. And then, I could just take like 40% away from Tom Bayer, those who vote for him. And, I'll beat them. I don't think they'll be too hard. Um, that's 2020, November 8th. I have 2 years to go, I mean, I'm not stressed. Um, yeah, but anyway, yeah, but let's see, I'm just going to follow God's direction on this. Um, but God is in full control. I was reading some tweets from Christians, like Christian broadcasting tweets. They keep emphasizing God's in control, and I'm like, I'm glad they recognize that. So they recognize that God's in control now. That God will be in control of whatever He does to mutate the virus, right? God's in complete control. He's the creator. I'm glad that they recognize that. That's what the Bible says. Like God did send 10 plagues of Egypt, right? Read Exodus, God sent 10 plagues of Egypt. And so God does things like that, Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting next 6 to 8 months where the whole nation enters COVID-19 hell on earth, when people just start dying left and right. Right now, death is kind of like, not that messy. You don't have to clean up too much after a person dies, I mean, obviously there you have to clean up, and every nurse probably will have to clean a lot of dead bodies, unfortunately, because a lot of people are going to die. Um, maybe they'll hire people to clean dead bodies. I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of dead people. Generally, nurses clean up after dead bodies. I hope I don't have to do a lot of that. I mean, so maybe they'll hire like people to clean up dead bodies. Because there's going to be so many dead people. It's not even going to be funny. You may spend like out of the 12-hour shift, you may spend like 6 hours cleaning dead bodies every day. That may be all that you do. If the hospital's like expecting nurses to do that, like normal times, so you don't have that many people die. You know what I'm saying? But in the abnormal time like COVID-19, you got a lot of people die. I wonder who cleaned the dead bodies in New York hospitals in April. Well, because we had like 30,000 people die in New York hospitals in April in 1 month. Did the nurses clean those dead bodies? Or did they hire different people to clean up those dead bodies? Or did they not clean the dead bodies? Did they just like send the dead bodies directly to the funeral homes to be cremated or whatever they did with those dead bodies? I wonder, they never had a show about this. So it's kind of hard to know what they did with those dead bodies, right? I wonder if there's an article about that, how dead COVID bodies were cleaned, who cleaned them, or did they not clean them like normally they would clean them because they were afraid maybe you could get COVID from dead bodies. I don't know. So these are questions we have to ask, right? Um, because it's coming to every state. COVID-19 death is coming to every state. I'm predicting that minimum 60,000 will die in every state by June 2021, resulting in over 3 million deaths in the United States. So that's what I'm predicting. I'm Heerak Kim, candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. Um, yeah, 8th District is Arlington, Alexandria Falls, Church and Fairfax County in Virginia, Northern Virginia, right next to Washington, D.C. Um, yeah, Christianity goes back long, 2,000 years, we have 2,000 years of history and tradition. You can't change that overnight. Some people think they can, but people are what we are. We're product of our history. I have photos from a Chinese New Year celebration at Georgetown University. I was the president of Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative, GCDI, and I organized the biggest Chinese New Year celebration in the history of Georgetown University. Um, as the president, I organized it and guided it. We had hundreds of people over in the waiting list. Look at all those people, completely packed to capacity. That's like the biggest room at Georgetown University could rent. It's in Healy Family Student Center, and it's the biggest room there next to the great room. Great room is like, when you enter, there's a uh, big, area like living room kind of area. But this is an actual room that we rented. It's the biggest room that you can rent, and it's completely packed. You see that? We have, a lot of Georgetown University students come from all schools: medical schools, nursing school, School of Foreign Service, School of Public Policy, Graduate School, College of General Studies, Law School, um, and undergraduates, graduate students, professors, and then so we had a lot of people coming. And I co-sponsored it with UCLA Alumni Association of Washington D.C. because I'm treasurer of UCLA Alumni Association, so we're able to like organize it together very well. So you have like UCLA people sitting in one of the tables, and I shared the photograph of them before. Um, Talking about California, the first Korean woman to become a U.S. congressman is from California. She's Republican. Most Koreans are Republicans. Because Koreans go to church and church is like Bible. So Koreans are very conservative. So the first Korean woman to be a congresswoman is from California. She just got her victory announced today, Young Kim. So I tweeted a congratulations to her. And she lost in 2018, but won in 2020. So it's kind of like me. I lost in 2020 because there was a problem with my name getting on the ballot. I win in 2022 against Don Bayer. Hi Don, how are you, Don? I know Don Bayer. He seems like a nice guy. I mean, I know him in the sense that we're both political opponents. Um, so Don Bayer seems to like me. I don't know. I don't know what goes in his mind, but he seems to like me. And my feel is that he likes me. Um, I like Don. I think I'll be better congressman than he is. So obviously that's why I'm running. Um, but he seems like a nice person. But I just don't agree with any of his policies. Well, not any. I don't want to say any, but most of his policies. But anyhow, sometime I'll talk more about that. Um, yeah, we have 1,367 COVID-19 um, death in the last 24 hours. I wonder what Don Bayer is thinking about this. Yeah. I get the feeling like Don Bayer feels like a sense of camaraderie with me. We're politically like opposites, right? Very conservative. Don Bayer's very liberal. But it's like any kind of sports, right? If you play football for Patriots against you, and you're playing football against, Ravens, Baltimore Ravens, you play against each other, but there's a sense of camaraderie there because you guys are competitors. So there's a kind of a feeling of, you know, friendship, almost a friendship, camaraderie. So I think Don Bauer kind of feels that for me. So don't mess with me because, Don Bauer will screw you over. You know what I'm saying? You know how that is. Um, you want to play them on the field, right? Like New England Patriots want to play Baltimore Ravens on the field, but they get pissed if you like do something like bad or something like uncalled for off the field. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a sense of camaraderie. And that's what you should expect. And I'm just giving you a warning. If you're a Democrat and you mistreat me off the court, Don Biden will destroy you. That's something you could count on because it's a sense of camaraderie. They feel like Don Biden would feel like you have no right to do that. Because he's running for Congress. He's officially running for Congress. You can't mistreat him just because he's not Democrat. So Don Biden is going to destroy you. That's how it works in politics. There are a few things that you can do. There are a few things you cannot do. You know, um, because it's kind of like nobles. If you're a noble person in England, you may hate another nobleman, but you don't want that nobleman mistreated by a nobleman from another country because you're both like Scottish noblemen. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm in Virginia's 8th district. Don Bayer has been in power for like what 6, 8 years. So he has a lot of people who are powerful around Virginia's 8th district. Um, you know, so Don Bayer I'm sure wants me to see me protected. You know, that's just how things are in politics. If you don't understand that, then it's hard to explain it to you because it's one of those things that has existed since beginning of time. You know. But yeah, so don't mess with me because Don Bayer will destroy you, even if he's my, political opponent. That's how it works. That's life. You may not understand it, but you may understand it in a hard way as your whole life goes to, pieces. Don Bayer will destroy your life just because you did me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's when you realize, oh, that's how politics work. You know what I'm saying? Oh, politics, political world is so funny. You know what I mean? You'll be surprised. Sometimes your political enemies are your greatest allies in your time of difficulty. Yeah, you don't think. you don't know how it works. You don't know how things work in politics. Um, yeah, I'm a historian. I've been studying politics, on how politicians act toward each other uh, for thousands of years. So I know how people act. You know what I'm saying? People are very predictable. Um, you know how in some movies somebody says, I want to be killed by you. I don't want to be killed by that person. You know how they say that? And they talk about the good death. What's a good death? You know, people care about these things. Um, yeah, so don't mistreat me. Dambar will destroy you. People in your camp will destroy you. Like Nancy Pelosi will destroy you. She knows I'm an official U.S. Congress candidate, registered with the United States House of Representatives Office of the Clerk. So you mistreat me, Nancy Pelosi will go out of her way to destroy you. Yeah, try it if you don't believe me. You know, um, yeah, life is like that. There's certain things that you don't understand if you don't know history. Your mind is so limited, and in your little tiny brain, you think that acting in a certain way will actually benefit like your patron. So you do certain things because you think it's going to help your patron, but your patron is like, you're not helping me. Like Joe Biden's like, you're not helping me. Just leave him alone. And then Joe Biden like screws you over because he's like, hey, Heerak is a candidate for independent. He's a candidate for U.S. Congress. He may say something about me, and I don't like him. I don't want you to touch him. And then he'll screw your life over because you acted in a way that Joe Biden thought was unfair or unjust towards a U.S. congressional candidate. And then your life is completely destroyed forever in politics because your own camp, you're destroyed in your own camp. Yeah, it's just like, it's Washington, D.C. If you don't understand politics, you're not going to survive it. Um, yeah, just Google my name. Look at all the things that I went through. I understand politics. I understand people. I understand history. Um, yeah, if you don't know, then you're not going to survive. That's why we say knowledge is power. You'll be surprised. Joe Biden will protect me in ways that you can't even begin to imagine. Right, Joe? Hey, Tin Man Joe. I make fun of him and all, but, I mean, I am a candidate for U.S. Congress. He understands that. I mean, I'm supposed to make fun of him. And I'm sure he likes me making fun of him. I'm sure he gets pissed sometimes, but sometimes he likes it. Right, Tin? Right, Joe? If you don't understand this, you have no business being in Washington, D.C. Because you'll be screwed over in ways you can't even begin to fathom, and you won't understand what happened. Because you should leave Washington, D.C., go somewhere else, like New York, because you don't know politics, right? Um, yeah, anyway, so in Washington, D.C., yeah, Georgetown University, so I was the president of Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative from 2019 to 2020, like over 1 year. Um, and yes, I threw this party. Look at all those people who came. You know, they know I'm the president of Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative. The whole Georgetown University newspaper did an article on me. You know, and we had the Republican candidate from Maryland Second District, Genevieve Moore. She was the head of the Veterans Affairs Hospital. What is that? I guess it was IT sector. So she's a pretty important person, to be honest, in VA hospital system. And she came, I invited her. She came and she spoke, and we had a good time. It was a fun time, It's a celebration, Chinese New Year. Right? So all of us had good time over good food. I arranged for catering and the room and organized everything, with my team of executive board members. Yeah, we have a great team. Martha Sidoriak, she's currently second year Masters of Science and Foreign Service student. Did a bachelor's at Temple University, did 3 years of leadership work in Ukraine. She's 100% Ukrainian. Her parents immigrated from there. We had, several people, we have several people in the executive board whose parents are like top leaders in the Communist Red Army. They're Chinese citizens. Obviously, their parents are going to be leaders in the Chinese Red Army because, it's a one-party system. And if you're anything or anybody in China, obviously you're a leader in the Chinese Red Army. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so like several of our executive board members, their parents are like top leaders in Chinese Communist Party, Red Army. And then we had some people from like Hong Kong, the opposition, right? Kind of, but still ethnically Chinese. And the families were powerful from before Hong Kong became part of China, but now it's part of China. History changes. Um, and then, in the executive board, we had a guy who's graduated from Columbia, worked as a financial analyst in New York, was doing a master's in history, you know, um, worked in the Mexican embassy, and so he's kind of interested in like diplomacy work, after he's made his money in Wall Street. Um, yeah, we had all kinds of, executive board members, different kinds. He's obviously born and bred, U.S. citizen, but he was conservative. He's Jewish. He's a conservative. He's a kind of practicing conservative Jewish. He told me. Um, and we had a Palestinian Arab, whose father is kind of influential businessman in Palestine. So she's here doing her master's in Arabic. She graduated with me. And her sister actually is a nurse, studied as a nurse in Palestinian University, came to America, took her RN exam, and collects RN, is practicing as a nurse. So I mean, we had a lot of different types. Like we had a Jew who's like pro Zionist, conservative Jew. We had a Palestinian who hates Israel, because yeah, she does kind of hate Israel. Um, in the same executive board. And like three or so, Chinese Red Army, like loyalists, parents are in the communist, high levels of communist Red Army. And then we had like Hong Kong dissidents, the parents are very active in that setting. So, I mean, we had like opposing sides, like Hong Kong versus China, Israel versus Palestine, and under one happy roof, under the leadership of Heerak Kim, president of Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative. I'm very good at bringing people who hate each other together. No, they don't hate each other. Their parents hate each other. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, if they were to go to war, their parents would kill each other. Kind of thing. Yeah. Anyhow, anywho. But I'm all about fun, fun, fun. Let's get along. Let's just eat the food. Let's have fun, song and dance. I've invited Grace Notes to sing. It's like all women a cappella group. You see them in the biggest picture. Those are Grace Note members. They're amazingly good. Just Google Grace Notes Georgetown, and you can see their videos. It's amazing. And Superfood was another a cappella group that's like co-ed, men and women. They came to sing. So you could also type in Superfood Georgetown. You can see the videos of their songs. They're really good. So they came to perform for us, and we had entertainment, food. It was great. I mean, it was like historic. I mean, that's why Georgetown's the Roya student newspaper reported on that. Yeah, memories, right? Memories. It seems like yesterday. I mean, it was in year 2020, so it is this year. It was like January 24th or something. Yes, I guess it wasn't that far away. So it is kind of like yesterday. you know, I just graduated from Georgetown University on August 24th, 2020. So yeah, life is short, so make best of it. As my friend Sarman, who worked for the Israeli secret police, who was my roommate, said, um, used to say. I mean, they put an Israeli secret police officer in there because, I'm a national treasure for Israel because I'm a expert of Jewish history. So Israel needs to defend my life. My life is valuable to the state of Israel because I'm an expert of Jewish history. What can I say? So out of the four guys, there's me and there's my Simon Yule from Scotland and Serge Gourmand. So Simon Yule's like this famous, he's a pretty important artist. And then Serge Gourmand is like an aristocrat, French Jewish aristocrat. And then here, me, the intellectual Jewish studies expert, the same apartment with a secret police officer with a semi-automatic pistol that he sleeps with, partying on lodge, you know. Yeah, yeah. Um, so, I lived in Israel for over 3 years, you know. I'm protected by several different nations for different reasons, what can I say? Uh, Jewish state protects me because they need my knowledge for survival. you know, I'm an expert of Jewish history dealing with identity, conflict. So my research is important to them. Yeah, what can I say? For Koreans, my great uncle was vice president of South Korea during the time of Korean War, 1950 to 1953. So I have a lot of important people in Korean politics, distant relatives or whatever. Close relatives with my mom, but distant from me, at my level. But yeah, they're there. I have relatives in North Korea and top echelons of power. Because my mother's side, half the family came down because they supported democracy, half stayed up there because they supported communism. Same family, very powerful political family. So I have relatives who are in top echelons of power in North Korea right now. Obviously, I don't communicate with them because communication is called, but they know who I am. you know, I mean, because I say who I am by identity. I said my great uncle is first was the vice president of 1950 to 1953, so they could identify me. Um, yeah, but anyway, so yeah, so I'm protected by both South Korea and North Korea. What can I say? There was only one Korea before 1945. So you can't blame them. It's like one people, one nation before 1945, and then it was split on the ideological lines, like East Germany and West Germany. Life is not that simple. You know what I'm saying? Life is very complicated. It's kind of like in my Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative. I'm the president, but I have like a Zionist Jewish guy who loves Israel, who would defend Israel at all costs. And I have a Palestinian who hates Israel, in the same executive board. But life is like that. Um, people will disagree on things. You know, one person in the executive board would like to see the whole country of Israel like wiped off the map of the world, like most Palestinians want. You know, um, the other side wants to make sure that Jewish state continues to exist on Palestinian soil. Um, I mean, geez, you can't have everybody agree on everything, including like fundamental issues like that. I mean, especially in America, because people disagree on so many things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, geez. Uh, but anyway, there are some people who are like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And they think like they're, you know, you know what I'm saying. And those are the people, who are just like clueless, Are you one of them? you know, are you one of those clueless people? Yeah. These clueless people, they don't know that they're clueless. That's the weirdest thing. They think they have a clue, but they're clueless. By the way, the Clueless was a pretty good movie. Have you seen the movie Clueless? Um, yeah, she's pretty, Silverstone. She was in that music video, Crazy by Aerosmith. Yeah, she's really pretty. Alicia Silverstone. I wonder what happened to her. If she's a smart woman, she would have married a nice guy of her dreams, and had a lot of children. And pro-choice happiness for herself. If she's a dumb woman, she's probably like single, lonely, and old and fat now, with nothing to show for it. Yeah, so you don't know. Some women are dumb, some women are smart. What can you do, right? Women have their biological clock ticking, so it's not like men, right? I think women lose the ability to have babies, some as soon as like in the 40s, or even 30s. Um, but anyway, let me tell you top five COVID-19 cases in Latin America. Number one is Brazil with 5,848,959 cases at 3% death rate. 165,658 people have died. Argentina is number two with 1,304,846 cases and 3% death rate. 35,307 people have died. Colombia is number three with 1,191,634 and 3% death rate. 33,829 people have died. Mexico has 997,393 cases, a 10% death rate. 97,624 people have died. Peru has 932,650 cases and a 4% death rate. 35,106 people have died. You should Google my name, Heerak Kim, and read all about me. All the kind of stupid people in the world. It's like so funny. I'm a card carrying member of the Association for Jewish Studies. I'm one of the certified experts of Jews in the world. I mean, geez, I could walk into any university in America and go to Jewish Studies department, identify myself, and I'm an instant in. I'm a card carrying member of the Association for Jewish Studies. That's like elite of the elites of the Jewish studies experts in America. People who teach Jewish studies in America, who define what anti-Semitism is. Yeah, we define what anti-Semitism is. Obviously, not everybody agrees, but you know, like 99% of the members are Jewish. I'm like one of the few non-Jews. But anyhow, um, yeah, there are only like what 12 million Jews in the world, but my association has 99% members are Jewish. So you can imagine it's like a very pro-Jewish group. I like Jews, so I join groups, with Jews, but a lot of my colleagues who do Jewish studies who are Christians, they refuse to join. They don't want to be part of a Jewish group. They say, you know how people are. And they're all like hard-carrying Democrats, they just don't want to be like part of a Jewish group. Um, yeah, some people call it anti-Semitism, but those are like the sensitive people. You know what I mean? It is what it is, okay? What can you say? Some people don't want to join a Korean group because they're not Korean. I mean, you cannot blame them, you know what I'm saying? I mean, geez, I don't get sensitive, because somebody doesn't want to come to a Korean church in Fairfax County because they're not Korean. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, Don't get all hypersensitive about it. We have like over 100 different nationalities in America. If you get hypersensitive about issues like that, how are you gonna last in America? Jeez. 100 different nationalities with 100 different loyalties, political loyalties, different histories, different enemies, How are you gonna survive in America with that kind of sensitivity? Um, Unless if you're white. If you're white, you're the majority power, so you can say whatever you want. Because you're the majority group. But I'm talking about if you're like a minority group. Like if you're a Muslim or a Jew or Hindu, you're not going to survive in America if you get all hypersensitive because you're in the minority. If you're white, you can say whatever you want, you'll survive. It's what we call white privilege. Yeah, you can't get rid of it. It's just part of that's what majority has, by definition, Um, Yeah, but anyway, Latin America is called continent of death because you see how many people are dying. So let's see. You know, we'll keep a tab on death rates in Latin America. Let's see if they have a lot of death in the next 6 months of flu season. You know, most of their death came in the summer. Um, so let's see if their death rates will continue through the winter. Yeah. So there are different articles here, and so today I'm just peddling today's theme. Doctors shocked by spike. Doctors are getting shocked at the spike because they didn't understand that this could happen, and it's happening. So doctors are getting shocked by the spike. They thought COVID was kind of gone, or was reduced, but they're shocked because actually COVID is not gone, it's not reduced, it's growing. And doctors have to come and see every patient, right? Nurses may take care of them for 12 hours, but doctors have to come, once every 12 hours or, whatever, and check up on them. Um, or, more than that if the patient situation is critical. So, and then they have to do their doctor level assessment and give the medications, or prescribe the medications that the nurses give to the patients. And so they're under a lot of stress because COVID-19 is kind of unpredictable. Um, so I'm sure doctors are very nervous about that, because they could prescribe things and they want to obviously save the patient with medicine, but they have to prescribe the right ones, right? So yeah, I think doctors are very stressed because COVID-19 is very unpredictable. Um, so let's read the first article. Doctors worried by sharp rise in COVID-19 cases. So, the author is Mackenzie Nelson, 41 KHBSB today. Doctors and public health officials alarmed at the surge of positive cases of COVID-19 in the Kansas City metro area. So the quote is, numbers have definitely been increasing over the last several weeks, said Dr. Sarah Boyd, infectious diseases physician, St. Luke's Health System. Quote, every few days we get a new high that we've reached of how many new cases there are. The metro area added more than 8,600 new cases this week, along with 47 coronavirus related deaths. We can do better than this if we would just pay attention to some of the very simple basics. I don't think so. I think doctors are being too optimistic. Coronavirus is, and I'm speaking as a healthcare um, trained nurse. Um, and I'm sure doctors are trained as well, but I mean, I would disagree with this doctor, Dr. Sarah Boyd, because she's thinking like if we just socially distance and wear a mask, then we're gonna have less than 47 deaths, right? That's what she's saying, right? We can do better than this, which means 47 coronavirus deaths. I disagree because we already have the cases, so the death will go up even if we completely shut the whole state down now. Death will never go down below 47 for at least next 5 weeks, right? If you have like what, 8,600 cases and flu season and is in full swing, and you end up having 10% of them die like 5, 6 weeks from now, you're gonna have 860 of them die. So it's much larger than 47. So even if you like completely shut the state down now, um, you're gonna have at least 860 deaths every day, like 5, 6, 7 weeks from now. If there is a 10% death rate, because of the flu season. You see what I'm saying? Every day, just in the state alone. So if you don't shut down, obviously it's going to be more than that. It could be like 1,000, 1,500 today. So we're just talking about one state here. Do you see why I'm saying every state will have at least 60,000 die? And the United States will have at least 3 million dying. Obviously, if you're a Christian, you're like, hey, if I die, I go to heaven, I don't have to wear a mask. You're not going to go to hell because you don't wear a mask. Like if you have gay sex, you go to hell. It's an unforgivable sin. If you have gay sex, don't even bother to repent because you're going to hell forever. God doesn't forgive that because it's blaspheming the Holy Spirit. You're like, the New Testament requires excommunicating you. Like you can't even step your foot inside a church if you had gay sex. It's forbidden by New Testament laws. They require excommunication for that. There is no salvation. It's like it's one sin that's not forgiven. So yeah, there's no point repenting, because you're going to get hell anyway. But so don't do it, just don't do it. Because once you do it, you have to be excommunicated from the church if you admit it. If people don't know about it, then they can't. They don't have to. They won't be excommunicated you because they don't know. But if you tell them, then obviously they're required by New Testament law to excommunicate you. So as you know, I'm an expert of the Bible. So I'm just offering my expert opinion based on my expertise as a New Testament scholar. I'm a card-carrying member of the European Association of Biblical Studies, which is an expert association made of experts on New Testament and Old Testament and Jewish studies. But I presented my papers on Jewish studies, New Testament. You Google my name, Heerak Christian Kim, or you search my name, Heerak Christian Kim, on the Amazon. You could see New Testament books I've written. You can read it. I'm an expert of New Testament. So I'm giving you my expert assessment as a certified expert of New Testament. And that is, if you have gay sex, you're not going to heaven. I mean, Bible, New Testament requires excommunication of all people who have gay sex. I mean, you can't even step your foot inside God's house, to church, after gay sex. You'll be forever banned from God's house, Christian church. So that's the requirement of the New Testament, and I follow the New Testament because it is the legal code, right? That's not open to interpretation. Romans chapter 1 is not open to interpretation. It is the legal code. And Justice Alito understand what I mean when I say legal code. Justice Roberts understands what I mean when I say legal code. It's not open to interpretation in the New Testament, Yeah, so it's like the Constitution, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so there are certain things that is unalterable, like the New Testament. You can't change it. You can't rewrite the New Testament. You don't have the authority to do that. Only God can. Yeah, this is just Christian law or New Testament. The Pope cannot rewrite the New Testament. The moment the Pope deviates from New Testament law, he is persona non grata in the kingdom of heaven. All the bishops know this. All the archbishops know this. All the cardinals throughout the world know this. 1 billion Catholics are free from their obligation to the Pope if he deviates from the legal code of the New Testament. All the bishops know this. All the Jesuits know this. All the Dominicans know this. All the Franciscans know this. All the Maronite know this. All the brothers of La Salle, the Notre Dame brothers, they all know this. Legal code is legal code. Yeah, let's go to the second article. Physician predicts unprecedented surge in U.S. COVID-19 cases after Thanksgiving. This article is from Christina Maxotis, Jaycroft, and Bekin and Doan, and this is in CNN. A little more than a week after the U.S. first top 100,000 daily infections, It reported a record of more than 184,000 new cases. I told you so. I said close down all the Halloween parties and trick or treating. Did I tell you that? You didn't listen. This is why we are here at 180,000, 184,000. You didn't listen to me. I told Arlington County Board, I told the Fairfax County Board, Alexandria City Council, and Falls Church City Council to officially ban trick or treating, officially ban Halloween parties. If they listen, we will not be in the mess that we are. You should have listened. I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century, and I have this program to save your life. I am speaking as an expert. If you follow my expert guidance, less people will die. But because you did not follow my expert guidance, now more people are going to die. Dr. Fauci was wrong, I'm right. I said this would happen in winter. Exactly what I'm saying will happen in winter is happening. The COVID-19 is proliferating. People are going into hospitals. More people are bound to die. That's what I said would happen months ago. Watch the reruns of my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. Just go to my YouTube channel, Heerak Christian Kim, for Congress YouTube. Type that in Google and look at the back episodes. I predicted what's exactly happening now. Yeah, so we had 84,000 new cases on Friday. New York had death at like over 10% in April. So if we have COVID-19 flu season, death rate of 10%, 18,400 of them will die in one day. 18,400 will die in one day. My prediction is that at a certain point in the flu season, we're going to have 30,000 deaths per day. If virus has not mutated, then they will die in the manner that we're familiar with. But if virus has mutated, you may see your mom or dad bleeding out in the living room if the virus mutates to cause that. Yeah, that could happen. Ask Dr. Fauci. Ask Dr. Gottlieb. You know, tomorrow, Face the Nation show, you should ask Dr. Gottlieb, can it happen? As Heerak Christian Kim, candidate for U.S. Congress of Virginia's 8th District, said that COVID-19 can mutate so that a person bleeds out from every orifice? Ask him. He'll say yes. Because it can happen. DIC, it can happen. Yeah, I mean, it could be the primary impact of COVID if COVID-19 mutates to do that. I mean, it's already affecting the clotting system, right? We know it's impacting clotting system. So it's only one or two steps away from doing that. One or two mutations away. It's not that hard. It may happen even before December, you know, if God wants it to happen. Obviously, every mutation is guided by God because God's in total control. Yeah. So next sentence. Hospitalizations also hit a new high for the fourth consecutive day, with more than 68,500 COVID-19 patients nationwide. It's only November, folks. So that number may seem small, 68. But, you know, it could easily go to 600,000, you know, in like a couple weeks. That's why wait and see. You know, we're looking at 68,000. It could go to 680,000 in a couple weeks. It happened like that. Because it's an exponential growth, right? It's not linear growth. It's an exponential growth. It was like, boom. According to COVID tracking project, and the country's daily death toll has topped 1,300 at least 3 times this week. So we're beginning to see a rise in death, and it's gonna, you know, it's only the beginning. It's only November, people. We have November, December, January, February, March, April, to May to go. 7 months to go. Yeah, it's not like April 2020 where it was mostly confined to like New York. Like one city in a state. It's not like that anymore. Like Detroit and Michigan. It's not like that anymore. Um, yeah, things are going to get much, much worse. Dr. Lena Wan, she's a CNN analyst, the former head of the Maryland Health Department. It's not one or two hotspots. The entire country is a hotspot of coronavirus infection. You see what I'm saying? That's why, I think it'll be more like 30 million Americans who will die by April or June 2021, because the whole country is a hotspot. So I think it'll be far more than 3 million. 3 million is only if 60,000 die per state, but it could be far more than that. The whole country is a hotspot. In April 2020, hotspots were like New York City, Detroit, Chicago, few places. It wasn't like that many. Um, Now everywhere is a hotspot. Um, yeah, so it's gonna be horrific. And we have how many months? Let's count it again. November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months minimum. Um, yeah, 60,000 minimum will die in every state in that period. Um, Things are about to get far worse. You know, yeah, this is going to be a scary month for many people, including nurses. This month, November, is going to be like a turning point in terms of COVID-19 deaths. Um, because we were talking about rising cases before, and then we're talking about rising hospitalizations. Soon we're going to be talking about rising deaths. We won't even be talking about hospitalizations or cases anymore because there'll be so many people dying. So we're headed there in a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks. Let's wait and see. You know, um, in our RN nurse residency program, they said if COVID-19 cases get too bad, we're going to go 100% online. I won't be surprised if like 2 weeks from now, they'll say, all of our RN residency program seminars will be 100% online. Because they'll have to, you know, because hospitals will be full and they'll have to protect nurses' lives, you know? So they will do whatever they can to make sure nurses don't get COVID-19. So, because, if nurses die, the patients die. You know what I'm saying? So they may go through some extreme measures that could come in November. I don't know how our chief nursing officer, Virginia Hospital Center, will handle it. And I don't know how all the chief nursing officers in area hospitals like Children's National Hospital, Georgetown MedStar Hospital, Georgetown Washington Hospital Center, Suburban Hospital, Sibley Hospital in DC, Unova Fairfax Hospital, Unova Alexandria Hospital, uh, Adventist Healthcare System Hospital in Shady Grove. I don't know how they're all going to handle what is coming. It'll probably happen in 2 weeks. In next 1 week or 2 weeks, we're going to see scary rise of COVID deaths, hospitals becoming compromised and overburdened. That's probably going to happen in about 2 weeks' time, before Thanksgiving. And obviously, being in the hospital, it's going to feel more dire. People outside of hospital, they're not going to feel it as much. Because remember, we're a country of 330 million people. The hospital is where sick people come. So us nurses, doctors, care, patient care technicians like CNAs, um, respiratory therapists, um, you know, we are dealing with patients, right? So we see things in the front lines. But outside of the hospital, yes, there are people getting sick, but there are 330 million people. So even if we have 100,000 cases per day or 200,000 cases per day, some people will feel it, some people won't. You know what I'm saying? So outside of the hospital, people are not going to really feel like it's an urgent situation unless they themselves get COVID. You know how like you read about a teacher strike and all the teachers are striking on TV, but you don't feel it because you're not a teacher, you don't know anybody who's a teacher, but the teachers feel it because they're striking. It's kind of like that. There are people getting COVID and there are people dying, but if you're not getting COVID and you're not dying from COVID and you don't know anybody like immediate who's getting COVID and dying from COVID, you're gonna feel like it's not happening, right? It's not gonna be very real to you because there are 330 million Americans. So it's minuscule. Even if we're talking about 200,000 cases per day, it's still minuscule compared to 330 million people. That's why people don't feel it. People think they're okay because they don't feel it because they don't have COVID, right? Um, and that's why it's going to keep growing because there are a lot of people who don't feel it. They don't really know anybody personally who got COVID and died from it. So they're going to say, it's just a joke. When in fact, it's real. It's like when teachers strike. If you're not a teacher, nobody in your family is a teacher, you're not really going to feel it. Right? It's not an issue for you. Um, yeah, but that's coming. But as it grows, obviously more and more people are affected. But as I said, even if 30 million people die in America, that's only 10% of the population. 300 million people, well, some of them will not feel it. Yeah, you may think like, well, how is that possible? Because 10% of anything is not always felt, right? Do you know a single Down syndrome person? There's a lot of people who have Down syndrome, but do you know even one person who has Down syndrome? Like personally, there are many people out there who don't know a single person who has a Down syndrome. How about autism? Autism is more common than Down syndrome. Do you know a single person who has autism? Some of you do, some of you don't. You see what I'm saying? So even with something that's very common like autism, some of you may not know anybody who's autistic, right? Um, I personally know them. You may see them on TV. So it's like that in life. What you don't experience is hard for you to understand, to be sympathetic to or empathetic to. Third article, top Henry Ford health doctor worried about Michigan COVID-19 death rising in near future. Every state death are going to rise. Virginia, where I'm in Arlington, Virginia, death are going to rise. There's no question about it. Death are going to rise. You can't avoid it. This is COVID-19. Obviously, if you're in a hospital working as a nurse or a doctor, you're going to feel it more than if you're like in the street. Because some people in the street will get COVID and die, but some people won't. Those who don't get COVID and die and don't know people who get COVID and die, they're going to think it's a big joke. It's not happening. They may think it's like unreal. Um, yeah, so let's read the article. Michigan announced 8,516 new COVID-19 cases. So it's happening in many different states here, right? Because we're talking about Kansas City, Kansas, right? And we're talking about, Michigan, right? So this is happening in many, many different states, right? You may not know what's going on in Michigan. You may not know what's going on in Kansas. You may not even know what's going on in your own state. You see what I'm saying? So you're not able to keep up. So when I said there's going to be 30 million people who could die by June, it's hard for you to fathom that. But when you see this show and I lay it out for you and explain it for you, you understand it better. This is why this show is so important. It gives you the facts. Like I'm not. You watch the liberal media, you don't get the facts, right? You don't know what the heck is going on. If it weren't for this show, COVID-19 update by Heerak, you would not get the facts that you need to survive COVID-19. You may think things are not happening. This is why you must see this show every day. You must religiously see this show every day in order to be in the number that survives. Because I give you guidance and advice. As long as you follow it, you're safe. Like those of you who did not go trick or treating, those of you who did not go to Halloween parties, you didn't get COVID, right? Um, you see what I'm saying? Um, we don't know how long this thing will last. It could last a couple of years. Dr. Fauci said it's going to go to at least 2022. That's what most health experts think. But it could go, 10 years. Who knows? We don't know exactly how long it's going to last. It could be forever, like HIV virus or hepatitis C virus. It's been around for decades. We don't know. We don't know how long it's going to last. But if you want to survive, you have to do what you need to survive, right? Because if you don't do what you need to survive, you're not going to survive, most likely. There's a high probability you won't survive. That's the thing that you got to keep in mind. Obviously, if you're a Christian and you die, you go to heaven. And you're not going to go to hell just because you don't wear a mask. Bible never says thou shalt wear a mask, right? So if you want to wear a mask, great. If you don't want to wear a mask, then that's your right. It has no bearing on whether you go to heaven or not. You go to heaven because you believe in Jesus Christ. If you don't want to wear a mask ever, you have higher chance of getting COVID. But when you die, you do go to heaven. That's guaranteed. You're going to suffer a lot if you get COVID before you die. And some of you may want to wear a mask because you want to avoid that suffering before the death. And obviously, if you commit suicide, you go straight to hell. So don't commit suicide, right? Um, so, yeah. Um, so let's read the article. Continue to read the article. Or maybe I could just start reading from the beginning. Michigan announced 8,516 new COVID-19 cases on Friday, smashing the previous single-day record by more than 1,500 cases. That's trick-or-treating and Halloween parties there, you see? It could happen overnight, like so many cases. It's like that with death. It could happen overnight. Oh, we have 1,500 more deaths in our state than yesterday. And it could happen 5 weeks from now. Or less than that. The state also reported 118 new deaths. So deaths are climbing, right? It's now in triple digits. And it could go to like 4 digits, like 1,118. The state also reported 118 new deaths, including 83 from a vital records review. And people died, so it's the accurate number, right? They died. It's documented accurately as having 118 people having died. A week ago, Friday, Michigan reported 3,700 new cases. So the total has more than doubled. Death rate can double. You could have 500 people die today, and tomorrow you could have 1,000 die in one state. The fast-moving spread of the virus isn't letting up despite dire warnings from experts and hospital leaders. Yeah, situation is very bad. So that's a very important point to keep in mind. My prediction is that Virginia hospitals will have at least 12 nurses die before Christmas 2020. And then nationwide, we're going to have 10,000 nurses die before Christmas. And if you're a nurse who have a husband and children, you may give your COVID to your husband and children, and they may die. You may survive, they may die. Who knows? We may die, they may survive. But that's something that I think all nurses must expect. If you are a nurse, you can get COVID and die. You may be asymptomatic, give the COVID to your husband and he may die and you may live and your children may live, or you may be symptomatic, give case to your husband and children, and all of your children die and your husband die and you're left alone. Or it's possible all of you die, you, your husband, and your children. Um, yeah, but people are going to die. Nurses are in the greatest threat for death. Yeah, nurses, I mean, if you're a nurse, you got to expect to get COVID and die from COVID. If you don't get COVID, great. If you don't die from COVID, great, but you have very high chance that you're going to get COVID, and there's some chance you'll die from it. It doesn't matter if you're 20, because 20-year-olds are dying now from COVID because, some of them through a stroke. Um, yeah, yeah, things are bad. Um, yeah, so I want to go cheer for my Virginia Hospital Center court members because, we're entering a very difficult period. We just graduated from nursing school, all of us. That's why we're in our residency program. Now we're facing COVID-19 death. And it's possible for one or two or maybe more of us to die from COVID-19 even before Christmas. So I just want to go cheer for all of us. VHC, Virginia Hospital Center, yay! RN residency program, yay! Hopefully we survive COVID. Hopefully we survive COVID. Yay! Yeah, but you know, but as I said, all the nurses have to be ready to die from COVID, get COVID and die from COVID. If you don't want to get COVID and die from COVID, you maybe just take a leave of absence, right? Because nurses have very high probability of getting COVID and dying. Um, that's just the fact. Um, I'm glad that you were able to tune in today for this show. I hope that you will tune in tomorrow as well. I'll bring you facts and figures to help you survive COVID-19, keep up with what's going on, not only where you are, but in other states and also around the world. I'm predicting that like 100 million people will die by June 2020, around June 2021, around the world. Um, so, I'll keep you updated on what's going on around the world. So, yeah, keep watching, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.